The question is it going to be a good quality product? But so far,
Is a reverse light. That's the only one that's going to have 12 volts. It can be HD or full HD.
In this video, we're looking at a direct replacement for a rear view mirror. This rear view mirror claims to have a dash cam built into the mirror. It also comes with a reversing camera. And in the mirror itself, there is a monitor, which is where you see the reversing camera picture. But in this video, we're going to see what the installation is like. So, like I said, this is the box that it comes in. Seems very good quality. It comes with instructions. These are the instructions, guys. If you want to go through it yourself, I'll just put it here. You can pause the video. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the installation. I'm curious about this. So it comes with a cable which goes through battery 12 volts, and it needs an accessory 12 volts to switch on and off. It also needs a ground connection, and then the reverse camera also needs power. This is the vehicle specific clamp. So this is what you send a photo of the clamp on your original mirror, and then they supply the mirror with the clamp that you need again. So there's no modifications needed to fit it.
Okay guys, so this is the car. Apologies in advance, I know the car is filthy dirty. In a perfect world, we'd run the cables. There'd be a switch live up here, and I'd run it under the roof liner. But I don't think there's going to be a switch live in there. But nevertheless, we're going to check the connections here to see if there is a switch live. Before we get into that, let's just see if the mirror is correct. It is. I just want to check that if there's a switch live in here. So we're just going to remove this light fitting, and we're going to check the cables inside to see if there's a switch live in there. Actually guys, scratch that. The easy way to check if it's switched live or not is to see if all the lights work with the ignition off, and they do. So we don't have a switch live in here, so we're going to have to abandon this running underneath the roof liner. We're going to have to come down inside this pillar, and then up along the under the plastic sill covers here into the boot. A much bigger job than doing that, but nevertheless, this is what we've got to do. So, okay guys, so we decided to go down the passenger side. If you're wondering how to remove the trim panels in your car, I'd recommend getting a Haynes manual. In my experience, they're fantastic. I know some people want to say that they're not good, but in my experience, the Haynes manuals are fantastic. So if you want to know where the clips are behind the trim panels, so you know where to pull them off, I recommend the Haynes manual. Like I said, that'll show you where the A-pillar covers are, where the clips are. It'll show where the cover is for the side of the dashboard. It'll show you how to take your glove box out so you can get to the cables behind it, how to get into the stereo, etc, etc. Or alternatively, maybe on a forum someone's posted pictures, if you're lucky, of your car and how to remove the trim panels. With regards to finding the power from your stereo, on most stereos there's like two ISO connectors. One is going to be the speakers, so that's going to have, you know, a minimum of 8 cables going into it, and the other is going to be the power block, which is usually slightly smaller, and that's going to have, like, you know, between 4 and 6 power cables in the back of it. So the process, if you're using a multimeter, the process to find the full time live and the switch live is the same as what I did with the reverse light. Basically, put one probe from the multimeter on a known good earth on the car's chassis, and put the other probe from the multimeter in each terminal with the ignition off, and see which one is the positive. There should only be one 12 volt live with the engine off, with the ignition off. And then once you've found that, switch on the ignition and see which one is now live. Obviously you're going to have the permanent 12 volt that's still going to be on, and there should be an extra one now, and that's going to be your switched live. So that's how you find the connectors there. With regards to taking the trim panels off, I mean, you could use screwdrivers if you wanted to, but I don't recommend it. They can very easily damage the plastics on the trim. You can get specialist trim removal tools, as always, eBay. If you put trim removal tool in there, I'm sure it's going to bring up a load of listings there. Basically, you want the plastic ones that look like a lever. They look basically like a miniature plastic crowbar. Those things, in my experience, they're excellent. They take off the trim much easier than a screwdriver. Plus, they're made of plastic, and there's much less chance of damaging the trim. Just because it's easier to run the cables through the glove box and into the back of the stereo. The switch live and the live that we're going to be used are going to be the same ones used for the stereo. I'm going to be doing the wiring for the stereo last, so I'll just get this job over first and then we can start dealing with this side. So hopefully, if you can see here through the gap, this is just pulling the front of the liner down a little bit. Be very careful with these guys because they will crack. It is a fabric, but it does crack. So we're just going to run it in through here where the fingers are and then just pull it out to here. I'm pretty sure this is not going to come out on camera, but I've routed the cable in and now I've got the connector out. So you can just see it's running in here. Now I just need to do the same thing with this. Okay, so that's the cable in. The cable's going to come down from the windscreen like so. This one is going to be tucked in around the front of the pillar and then we're going to route it down the side. But just need to connect these two together now. You can only connect them one way. There's a groove on the top. Once we've done that, we're finished with this. We can put the light back in and you know it's all done. So that's the cable tucked in. Literally it's just on the inside of the headliner here. I brought it up round here and I'm just going to bring it around this corner. I do that with the bottom one and then we'll run it down inside the dash. We'll take the glove box out. So I've just routed the cables for the camera through there as well. I suppose if I was going to do this again, guys, I'd probably do this wiring first and then pull all the wiring out this way. Maybe that would have been better. Okay, so this part of the installation is complete. The next step is the camera cable is going to connect into this cable here. So the next step is to run the cables up the inside of the car, underneath the plastics, into the boot, under the carpet, up under the plastic here. Depending on your car, you may not have to remove these. On this particular car, I can just lift this plastic up a little bit and then just tuck the wire underneath. Guys, if you're going to do this properly, you're going to go into this. You're going to remove these. You're going to feed the cable inside the rubbers into the boot and do it like that. I'm going to do a quick job. Okay guys, so this is the rubber surround on the boot. This, if you can see that, the bottom one here is where the metal goes in, but we've also got another one. We've got another groove here, and this is where what we're going to feed the cables into. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this just so I can see where we're going to mount the camera. This video we're just going to use the supplied sticky pad to attach the camera to the car. This is the reversing cable. This gives power to the camera when it's in reverse, so we're going to need to tap into the reversing power of the tail lamp. So we're just going to check which cable is the reversing lamp as well, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now we need to find out which of these cables is the reverse live. Last one, that probably wasn't coming out there, guys. Basically just go through each of these with one side of the multimeter grounded. Just put the positive in each of the pins to see which one is active. Because the only light in this cluster that's going to be on at the moment is the brake light, is the reverse light. That's the only one that's going to have 12 volts. So to tap into this cable, we separated it out now, the green and the orange. And to tap into it, we're going to use something called a Positiap. I'm going to put a link in the video description to see how to use these, but this is what I'm going to do to tap into this. I don't need any tools. Okay, final step, guys, wiring the power in. So these fuses, they're a nice idea, but we're not going to use them. So we're going to cut them off and we're going to use these inline fuses instead. Positiap done. And for the earth, we're just going to use one of these bolts here because I've been testing them to find out which is the live and which is the positive. So I'm just going to unscrew this bolt a little bit, put this on and use that as the earth, nice and easy. Fuses that they supply this unit with, they look like 15 amp fuses. They're blue and the metal in them is very thick. I don't see any reason why you would need a 15 amp fuse on this. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm sure I'm going to find out, but I've changed these fuses to 5 amp. I think that is more than enough given the size of the cables given the size of the power cables on the unit. So and basically, guys, that is the installation done. I'm